r/Askreddit by Reddit and chill. What is your most disturbing fun fact? Prairie dog mothers guard their young in a group because if left alone, mothers will eat the competing young so that their children don't have to share as much food. Shit. Hamsters will eat their whole litter themselves just so they don't have to be bothered with motherhood. Rodents are brutal. Falcon breeders let birds duck their heads. Many bird species acquire their sexuality through sexual imprinting. They are interested in partners who look similar to their parents. If they are raised by a human instead, they will be sexually attracted to humans, but not their own species. So breeders basically have to have sex with the falcons themselves as they won't reproduce otherwise. When a pregnant woman dies, relaxation of muscles and buildup of gases mean the fetus is sometimes expelled from the body a few days after death. Sometimes at speed. For more info see YouTube video by Ask a Mortician on coffin births. Penguins have long legs tucked into the fur. Owls as well. I find it unreasonably funny to see someone lifting an owl up to show its legs. Edit. Link to a picture of someone doing so. Men dying while masturbating is more common than you think. Usually due to pre-existing heart conditions. Also, orgasm-induced stroke brain hemorrhage is pretty common. Quite a few men will have sex, finish, and then a very short time later have a stroke or a brain bleed. Source: EMT. Seen it a few times. The location of the serial killer H.H. Holmes' infamous murder castle, located at 63rd and Wallace Street in the Englewood neighborhood of Chicago, is now a US post office. The rooms would fill up with toxic gas, killing the guests. Holmes would then take their skeletons and sell them to medical schools. Neurological studies have shown that when a person dies that they may be able to hear what is going on around them for about 6 minutes. The time it takes for the brain to die from lack of oxygen. This is oddly comforting to me. After my dad drew his last breath I sat holding his hand and talking with him for a while and thanked him for being a good dad. Male ducks go on rape rampages and impregnate dozens of female ducks. Saw this happen once at the zoo when I was like 7. Duck sex is rough as duck. Female spotted hyenas have a pseudo-penis. Yes. They give birth through it. Yes. That's exactly as painful and dangerous as it sounds. They also duck the male hyenas with them to assert dominance. Rabbits are designed to eat continuously. They need their body volume and dry roughage daily, or their GI system shuts down. If a rabbit doesn't eat for 12 hours, it's an emergency. And they must be force-fed. At 24 hours they go into GI stasis. And even with intervention they can die. The youngest girl to ever give birth was 5 years, 7 months, and 21 days old. End Wikipedia.org link. All I need to know is who was the dad. A male blue whale ejaculates round about 10 liters of semen at a time. Most of which goes into the sea. Not if I can help it. As dead bodies decay, they burp or release gases. For this reason, caskets and mausoleums need to be ventilated so that the gas can escape. But he just said woo? Did you know that snails have over 10,000 teeth? Did you know that snails make terrible shoelaces? In southern Africa, there is a tradition called the hyena man. Parents hire a special man from their village to have sex with their virgin daughters, ages 10 plus, against their will, as a rite of passage and sexual cleansing. How is this happening on the same planet? Dude is HIV positive being paid to have unprotected sex with children. NPR.org link. New Jersey is the only state where incest and bestiality are legal. So you can sleep with animals that are related to you? That's sick. Robert Picton killed 49 women and fed their bodies to pigs. But whatever the pigs didn't eat was sent to a rendering plant outside Vancouver, where makeup ingredients were made. Considering his last kill was suspected to have happened around the year 2000. If you're living along the west coast there's a non-0% chance your lipstick had dead hookers in it. This is why you should always be wary of a man who owns a pig farm. A raccoon can fit into a space as small as 13 centimeters. And the human anus can stretch to 15 centimeters. So, what are you doing this weekend? A gorilla aggressively masturbates after winning a fight with another gorilla. Your cats and dogs will eventually eat some parts of your body that is soft when you die. The dog would first nibble, then bite, then eat out of frustration knowing that its owner is no longer breathing. The cat would wait for a few days until the food runs out. When it doesn't have a choice, it will eat as well. Cats can be picky, and dogs are just emotional. Better than them starving to death. I'm dead. What do I care? That there could be 2,000 active serial killers roaming the United States and the FBI doesn't know who they are. There could be way more than that if nobody knows. About 2,000 people per year go missing in the USA. And apparently there are about 2,000 serial killers any year in the US. Coincidence? Male giraffes will headbutt a female in the bladder until she urinates. Then taste the pee to help it determine whether or not the female is ovulating. Some humans will do that too. Not the part about the ovulation. The other part. In order to cook a chicken in one slap, you would have to slap it at the speed of about 6,037 meters per second. I feel like that is less like cooking and more like detonating the chicken given the amount of energy involved and how quickly it would transfer. You can get your lower body chopped off and you'll live long enough to see your legs on the other side of the road. Darth Maul has left the chat. I took a DNA test like a 23andMe. My dad took one about a few months prior. I didn't tell him. It turned out we shared 29% of our DNA, meaning he wasn't my dad. He has one brother. And I share 25% with his daughter. Meaning my uncle is my dad, my cousin is my half sister. I haven't told anyone in my family. Are you close with your mom? If so, you should bring it up to her in private and see what she says. Some penguins are pedophiles. They steal baby penguins from their mothers and duck them. Edit. So my most upvoted comment is about penguin pedophilia. Now read that again in Morgan Freeman's voice. Men's nipples can be stimulated to produce milk. So Greg can milk Jack after all. If you were to be killed by having an arrow shot through your eye, the process of your death would be slow enough for you to register what's happening while it's going down. If there was an afterlife, you'd be able to remember exactly how it felt when the arrow pierced your eyeball. Always wear goggles when involved in an arrow fight. Zyklon A gas was invented by a Jewish man. It was originally supposed to be an insecticide. But the Nazis took it and make Zyklon B gas, which is basically the same thing but has no smell. The chemical that gives Parmesan cheese its smell, butyric acid, is produced by dead bodies. Meaning dead bodies smell like Parmesan or Parmesan smells like dead bodies. I think I prefer the former. I thought it was vomit. Cause my Parmesan smells like vomit. In 45 states, doctors and medical students are legally allowed to practice pelvic exams on patients who are under anesthesia without being granted explicit consent to do so. When I was in medical school about 10 years ago, this was expressly forbidden no matter what state or technical legality. It was unethical and should never be done unless specifically discussed with the patient beforehand. Bystander CPR is largely ineffective at saving lives. Yes. 45% of people who receive bystander CPR make it to the hospital, but only around 10% live to be discharged. It is the best possible thing to do until more skilled help aid can arrive. But it isn't like it is in Hollywood. But they can't tell you there's such low survival rates because CPR is hard physically and emotionally to do, and saying that's all a waste would prevent people from doing it. CPR does save lives. Just not as many as people think. To be fair, it's also skewed because most of those people had no chance of surviving even if they got teleported into the IQ. Starfish's stomachs extend out and inject to prey dissolving enzymes so that when the prey is soft enough it will be able to be eaten by the starfish. Male dolphins often engage in gang rape. They will circle around a female and trap her so she can't leave, then take turns raping her until they have enough or she's able to swim away. I actually saw this happen in Corpus Christi Bay on the Texas Gulf Coast. We were on a dolphin watching tour boat. All the parents were dragging their kids to the other side. Oh, look, JR, there's stuff. to look at over here. 2. At about 10 meters of depth in water, the pressure around you compresses you past the point of buoyancy. Once that happens, you're not diving anymore, but falling into the water. To return to the surface, you need to climb back to that point before you float naturally to the surface again. A serial killer went on a television game show called The Dating Game and actually won. His prize was a date with a bachelorette. However, she found him to be extremely creepy within minutes of talking to him and called it off. He has been charged in the deaths of 8 people. However, his total victim count may be as high as 100 due to over 1,000 Polaroids of women and children discovered to have been taken by him. The police department could only release 120 of them in the hope of identifying them. The rest were too explicit or counted as child pornography. Edit. If any of you live in Huntington Beach, you pay your respects to Robin Sanzo at her memorial plaque. She was only 12 years old when Alcala killed her. For the third trial, Alcala elected to act as his own attorney. He took the stand in his own defense, and for 5 hours played the roles of both interrogator and witness, asking himself questions, addressing himself as Mr. Alcala in a deeper than normal voice, and then answering them. In the 60s there was a serial killer in London that horrifically murdered several women, whose corpses were found naked. The press, showing its usual good taste, named the killer Jack the Stripper. Otters can rape female otters and baby seals to death and have been seen to continue raping the corpse for up to a week. WTF. Some species of anglerfish become sex slaves. The male anglerfish finds a female, who's much larger, and bites onto her abdomen, latching on. He then connects to her blood supply, losing his eyes, tongue, stomach, anything not needed for reproduction. Her body supplies him with nutrients and he supplies her with fertilization for her eggs. Basically, he becomes the equivalent of testicles. Even his brain disappears, and the female anglerfish just uses that to keep producing eggs until she dies. He is basically dead the moment he latches on. Male ducks have a corkscrew-shaped penis because the females essentially have vagina mazes. They are also rapists and necrophiliacs. Vagina maze would be a good band name. If you are a junior, your mother has probably screamed your name during sex. I'm gonna rip your eyes out. Snails have 4 a-holes. Anne Frank actually talked a lot about masturbation in her diaries. The publishers edited it out though. Around 80% of human pregnancies actually start out as twins, but one twin is usually absorbed by the other twin or starved by its placenta. Ducking. Like and subscribe.